there! We'd like to ask you a quick question. Do you know if anyone around here has been looking for him? For Kaedehara Kazuha, we mean.
Aha! So this is the renowned Mr. Kaedehara. I've heard a lot about you. It is an honor.
You are too kind. We are currently investigating an assault and would appreciate any—
Oh? You were targeted in an assault? Let me— Mr. Kaedehara is currently the talk of the town, so there are always a lot of people looking for him. To be honest with you, our detective agency has recently been receiving many inquiries from people wishing to obtain Mr. Kaedehara's personal Some of them were offering us millions of mora just to gather the information they want. If these were more legitimate commissions, Sango would have snapped them up in an instant.
Millions? Of mora? Whoa! Oh, wait.
Please, accept my thanks for looking out for my—
Of course. No matter what, we only take on legitimate cases. We don't make our money by revealing details of other people's day-to-day life just for the sake of it. Sorry, I got a little off topic. What I'm really trying to say is, it doesn't surprise me that a complete stranger is looking for Mr. Ka— But I wouldn't know where to begin if we want to connect this with an assault.
Then let's put that connection aside for now. Have there been any other attacks or similar incidents recently that stand out? The Tenryou Commission had very few leads. I thought you might have some information from different sources.
It's true that the commissioners aren't clued up about every little thing that goes on out in the streets. But typically, it's only the most trivial events that manage to escape. If anyone had been out there attacking people, that would be assault, in which case the Tenryou Commission would absolutely get involved.
Uh-oh. Looks like the trail's already—
I still find it difficult to believe that whoever attacked you hasn't been causing any trouble elsewhere. Few people possess your prowess in battle. So unless you were the first person he targeted, someone is certain to have been hurt. I am well aware of your talents. There is no need to be humble around me. In fact, I'm quite relieved that you were the one he targeted. It would cause me great grief to see someone become critically injured or lose. For the poor victim, this would be a completely senseless—
Don't worry, we'll find him.
It seems you are every bit the selfless hero they make you out to be, Mr. Kaedehara. Surely this same concern for your fellow man is what drove you to fearlessly raise your blade against—
You flatter me. Truth be told, I don't know quite what came over me in that moment.
You are much too humble. Don't worry, I completely understand your concerns. I will try my best to get— Oh, actually, there was one strange incident over the last few days. It doesn't involve an attack. Let me tell you about it just in case.
Sure. During times like this, the more information we have, the better.
All right then. Recently, 2 people went missing from the city. One of them is a pretty well-known collector, surnamed Nagato. The other, Amenoma Yuya, is a samurai from the Amenoma clan.
Amenoma! Now there's a—
Right. Yuya is the nephew of Amenoma Togo, the owner of Amenoma Smith. 2 grown men going missing at the same time. I recalled this because Amenoma Yuya is also an accomplished martial artist who is skilled with the blade.
Understood, though it seems highly unlikely to me. I neither know this man, nor do I have any idea why—
Sure! Can't hurt! We never know what we might find out along the way.
Thank you, Ryuji. We'll start by making some inquiries at the Amenoma Smith.
Sounds good. All the best with your investigation. I'll get moved.
Ah, if it isn't Kaedehara Kazuha, what brings you here today?
Huh? You two—
Yes, the Kaedehara and Amenoma clans were both members of the Raiden Gokaden. Historically, there have always been deep— After I returned to Inazuma, I visited Mr. Amenoma to pay my respects. Let me quickly explain. The Raiden Gokaden was the collective term for the 5 most acclaimed bladesmith. The techniques of blade making were personally bequeathed to the Raiden Gokaden by the almighty shogun. And over time, unfortunately, a series of events led to the gradual decline of many clans in the bladesmithing trade. Today, only the
So sad.
It is a great pity indeed. In the old days, we each had our specialties, and just as as an example, the Amenoma art strives to emulate the abiding patience and determination of water. As it turns, there is nothing mystical to our work. There is only practice, day in and day out, until both body and mind have memorized the craft. As for the art of the Kaeya clan, I believe it's called the Isshin art.
That's right. Isshin art strives for complete harmony between blade and mind. For only a blade thus forged can capture and convey its maker's thoughts and feelings, and eventually become an extension of its wielder's will.
Indeed. Most samurai choose their blades, but an Isshin blade chooses its... You are, without a doubt, the most worthy wielder of an Isshin blade. It gladdens my heart to see...
You overestimate me. My actions are guided by my own personal sentiments, not by any noble aspiration. But let's get back on topic. The purpose of our visit today is to gather some information on your missing nephew. We hope to assist with the investigation. It may turn out that this case is connected to another we are pursuing.
Ah, yes. My nephew. I reported the case to the Tenryou Commission, but I haven't heard anything back so far. He didn't say a word before he left, which is very unlike him. I'm still completely at a loss, but I've done what I can so far. Worrying is futile. All I can do now is wait for the news from the Tenryou Commission.
We heard that there was a collector involved in the disappearance too. Know anything about that?
Yes. On the morning that Yuya went missing, he gave me a very cryptic look and said that he was going... I believe he went to collect the item from Mr. Nagato after that. The next thing I heard was that a fire had broken out at the warehouse. Yes. Strange, isn't it? I wonder what could have caused it. Unfortunately, there was very...
Do you have any thoughts on what Yuya may have wanted to give you?
If I had to guess, it must have been some kind of rare weapon. Otherwise, there would have been no reason for him to get my hopes up. He's never been particularly interested in blade forging, but has always had a fondness for blade testing, and can sense even the most minute differences in blade quality. He is extraordinarily talented in martial arts.
Truth be told, we have some information that you may find to be objectionable. The person we are looking for, based on the evidence we have gathered so far, only Yuya seems to match the suspect's profile.
What? No. Absolutely impossible. He is humble and kind. Even his training is done with the goal of calming his mind.
Huh.
Yes. If there's one thing I can say for certain, it's that Yuya would never draw... But, with that said, it's equally out of character for him. I also cannot know what course of action he might be capable of if coerced, or otherwise compelled by circumstances Anyway, should you find him, please let me know as soon as possible.
Don't worry. You have our word.
From the sound of that, Paimon doesn't think Yuya was the one who attacked us as well.
Yes. It sounds as if something happened. Let's pay a visit to the...
I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now. My husband has gone missing, and I'm still trying to find him.
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the investigation. We'd like...
Ah, I see. I thought the debt... I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state. Has some new information come in?
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. We're still trying to find... With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions about your family?
For example, Paimon's struggling to understand why a collector would be strapped...
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him... Everything was fine when we first got married, but as time went by, things changed for the worse.
Uh-oh, what happened?
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money just so he could pay for them. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. There were days when he'd spend hours down at the warehouse, admiring his weapons even as debt collectors were descending upon our house. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring at them like he was in a trance. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him. But making ends meet has to come first. I've tried talking to him about it so many times, but he never listens. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay off his debts, I would divorce him and take the children with me.
Whoa!
And that led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the decision-making to me. You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in... And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he... The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. I understand. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument over the price, but my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine.
Maybe he was feeling the pressure from the...
I don't know. He just disappeared after the warehouse burned. Perhaps he's too afraid to come home, now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire. Even though I'm still a little mad at him. We're a family. And I want us to... As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets the eye. If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this but the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an...
A little confusing. More like complete...
Let's try a change of scenery and see if we can piece together what we've learned. Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find anything.
Thank you so much. I just...
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded, though its exact role is a mystery. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paimon was thinking that maybe... Nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
Right. I very much agree with you. It seems highly likely that we're missing a piece of the puzzle. Working off what we know so far, there are too many things that don't add up. The chances are that there are still some clues left for us to discover. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Amenoma Yuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Neither seems like Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, is also the only one of them with the potential. The more I ponder it, right. Although the time frame seems to broadly match, no other detail. Amenoma Yuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art.
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but at this rate, it's...
Let's keep going. Since we've come, if we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs.
Okay, but where should we...
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we... Wait. I hear something ominous in the...
Oh! This must be another one of those sounds that, as sketchy as that whole thing seems, you did put it to good use when we were chasing down that vision thief at Beto's turn.
Now I'm picking up a strong scent in addition to the sound. It's right around here somewhere.
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but I can still sense the direction it left in. It felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. The remnants, indeed. But this unexpected spring of we should remain vigilant and approach...
Huh. So it's an underground warehouse.
The force is definitely coming from down below. The source of the Tatarigami energy has long since left this place, but the residue it left behind still hasn't dissipated. Judging from the concentration, I would have to conclude that the Tatarigami source...
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around the warehouse by himself a lot.
It could well be that he was already under the influence of Tatarigami energy at that time. From what I've been told, Tatarigami does not turn all upon whom it preys, but most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed to the Tatarigami's unfulfilled will. Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with. The influence of Tatarigami could explain why he became an obsessive...
So what should we do now? Go down and take a look?
Step back. I'll open the door and take a look inside. If we don't open this door, we can move no closer to the truth. You needn't worry. Both of us have faced far greater dangers than this.
What's down there?
Everything's buried in debris. It looks like the fire caused a cave-in, reducing the entire warehouse to rubble.
That was too scary! Paimon was so sure...
All we can do now is keep searching in the direction that the Tatarigami energy's source left. Two ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami. I fear... Yes, let's go. If nothing else, it's vital that we quiet your mind and focus on what you sense around you. Perhaps... From this point, the trail appears to split into two. The main source of the Tatarigami energy continued on into the distance, but a small portion remained here. Quite possibly.
Whoa! Look at all those hilly churls! They're acting really strangely.
Something seems to be drawing their attention. Let's take a closer look.
Ugh! Look at this.
By the looks of it, a letter written on a piece of torn clothing. The ink is, well, let's take a look. According to this letter, a conflict arose because Amenoma Yuya wanted to seize a... Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded Mr. Nagato in the fight. Mr. Nagato kept chase as long as he could, eventually stopping he...
So, where is he?
He was not only mortally wounded, but also under the heavy influence of Tatarigami. Add to that the fact that its aura seems to have attracted whatever traces there may have been of his fate beyond after this point. They've since been disturbed by the hilly churls. Yes, right now we need to uncover some... If Amenoma Yuya is attacking other people indiscriminately, then the longer we take to find him...
Right, so let's get moving.
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey to the influence of the Tatarigami. For a practitioner of the martial arts, the easiest desire to inflame would be their pursuit of all the clues that at first seemed disparate and disconnected. I have a hypothesis that, if it's correct, not only explains the series of events leading to the two men's disappearance, but also...
Wait, you figured it out? So these two...
I believe so. But it's something of an outlandish idea. I will only be able to confirm my... On with the search. We must stay vigilant. At any point now, we may find... He seems to have stayed here for a long time.
Why here? Is there anything special about this place?
I'm not sure. But on closer examination, I sense that the aura may have... Show yourself!
Kaeya Harakazuha. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is the same guy. What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against...
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. If it is but what if instead of facing Ame no Mayuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving... Whoa! Surely you do...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind. Or rather, as a means to occupy Ame no Mayuya.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced. Many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was his pride and joy in me as a descendant of the Kaedehara clan. You should be able to guess our greatest.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, he was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time and sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me in her conceit. The Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also...
So... swords can become...
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Ina. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power.
So Ame no Mayuya, tell me, what happens to those you've possessed when...
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until, at long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Ame no Mayuya's body, I have found you. And by your hand, Kaeya Harakazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. There can be no other to serve as my host for what is to... Now, give you...
Wind Strider! Time to go. Fine. As one with wind and cloud. That hurt.
History! Join me and sever that divine light! Do not stand in my way, or I will strike you down!
Your bluff's fooling no one! You...
Lost. I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit, nothing more. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be... He is but a puppet that can be replaced. I can take a new vessel at will. The end result is the same! I will end this wretch's life. And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is by any means necessary, and any medium of...
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin, but from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a...
Really? You can tell all that just...
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenome Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost... If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that... In that regard, why would I ever need your...
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed, now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable...
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr. Nagato had a habit of never...
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Amenome Yuya and...
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand, and I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a diluc.
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from a...
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art. But to make this arduous, even if you were to sever that divine light, is this truly the outcome?
You...
Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools. How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discord?
Silence, you blabbering fool! I must achieve my goal. This was his... I will concede that you are most perceptive. You see my predicament clearly.
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. Facing reality offers me nothing. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation. It is pointless to argue further, descendant of the Kaedahara clan. If you...
How stubbornly you stick to your wayward path. I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state. So let us make a bet.
What? Surely you're not planning to agree to his demands.
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blades. A taste of... Once we have dealt with them, we shall proceed to tend...
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose, you must release Amenome Yuya from your control.
I accept.
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amenome Yuya. If we don't do this, the Cursed Blade's strength is currently very weak, and I sense he's hesitating. This suggests the power of the Tatarigami lies in intensifying existing obsessions. This is the reason Mr. Nagato and Amenome Yuya...
But even so...
Even if things take a turn for the worse, we have a chance here to save an innocent victim. I am willing...
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. Now.
Kazuha?
I'm okay. I felt a little dizzy at first, but it's all right. So far, this was as I expected. I will.
What should we do next? Have you got a plan, Kazuha?
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced many real fight. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it cannot unleash. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice but to face it. He should—
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing about something from the Adventurers Guild. Since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base, it's been held by—
all right. Please lead the way.
What about Amenoma Yuya? What?
The blade says he'll let Amenoma Yuya trail us silently. Although he hasn't regained his own—
Are we sure this is a good idea? It's a